Hey yo, and welcome to the Slam Jam Wrestling Show. I'm David Postansky, and on the show tonight we will pay tribute to Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon, who passed away a few days ago. We will also cover lots of other things from the world of professional wrestling, including the main mystery of how the hell did Scott Hall manage to talk with a toothpick in his mouth. Anyone else? Let's see how anyone else manages during the introductions. Dave Green, over to you.
Hey, you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
Okay, and
I don't know how you did either.
it's hard, isn't it? It is hard. Gav, to give the toothpick a try, over to you.
Hey yo, oye chico. This is Gavi right here.
You got like this shoulder action going and everything, man. Okay, now handing over to not David. TJ, what the hell is in your mouth?
I couldn't find a toothpick, so I used a pencil. And yeah, I know it doesn't exactly fit. But hey yo, I'm TJ, and I'm as usual reporting from my mom's basement because I'm an AEW fan and that's where we live.
Okay, fantastic. Now, joining us for the first time today, we have David King. We could call him King, and we'll see if that goes down. So, David, say hello to the people.
Hey yo, this is David from Pro Wrestling World. How's everybody doing?
Good, good. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, doing their best John Cena because we can't see him, Assad, say hello to the people.
Hey yo. So, here's how the toothpick thing works. Basically, you have to make the toothpick a little wet in your mouth and you have to stick the toothpick onto your lip and it just stays there and then you can just talk normally.
Well, yeah.
I look like a really bad vampire.
Okay, so with this, we're going to have some fun today, of course, but, it shocked the wrestling world. Scott Hall passed away last Monday, I believe it was. All of the news was breaking across the weekend that he'd gone into intensive care, and we were hoping for a miracle, and unfortunately one didn't come. So for a little while of this show at least, we can share some memories of and highlights that we have of Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, the Diamond Stud, however we want to remember him. Who wants to get the ball rolling? Tell us some Scott Hall stories or any thoughts or reactions to the news that we've had in the last few days.
I don't know much I could start because I didn't like when the NWO and WCW was thing. I was like too young to watch wrestling. I actually watched it. When I watched it, was live. But like NWO was one of my favorite things about wrestling, about WCW. And eventually, as most of you know, I'm someone who focuses more on the wrestling side of things over. I like storytelling and character work, but the in-ring wrestling is what I focus on the most. I absolutely love Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels, and it's just that. I actually prefer the SummerSlam one.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I just think it's a better in-ring match.
Okay.
They were told not to use the ladder, so they had to be really improv. It was weird. It was in Shawn Michaels' book. They didn't want to use the ladder so much because some sponsor complained about it.
So you do instead.
Probably why it's more in ring.
Wow.
So you do instead.
Yeah. Okay, Dave. Do you want to give any thoughts or reactions to anything or memories of Ramon?
I think I just love the whole sort of the gimmick when it sort of started off with the Razor Ramon gimmick and all that stuff, and I did like it. It's just like a little bit of attention to detail. So obviously when he came along, they were obviously doing a lot of the wrestling challenge and superstars sort of tapings and all that sort of stuff. And so you'd see him every couple of weeks on those shows doing the thing of like taking the gold off his neck and telling the ringside attendant, who I think most of the time was Tony Schimmel, of all people. Telling him sort of like, something happens to this goal, something's going to happen to you. And there's been so many like long time doing it. And there was one, I just remember one taping either on Superstars or something like that, where he basically does the same thing, goes over. He says, "We've been doing this a long time, man. Come on, you know it. What is it?" And then Tony Schimmel just goes, "Something happens to the goal, something's going to happen to me. You know it, man." And just throws a toothpick in his out and just carries on the match. It's just the whole thing of, we've done this before, you know the routine, let's do it.
Yeah. Anyone else? We'll go around and we'll get this more free flying. But Gav, do you want to give any particular thoughts?
First of all, I'm gonna say that I'm really sad to see him gone. He was one of my favourites, like growing up as a kid. First time I saw him was like in a vignette, or even just before that when they announced that he was going to be there, and instantly I just gravitated to him. He's probably the only person that used to come out that would record the vignettes, and I'll also record his matches. Like every match that came out, Superstars, I'll be there, BCR.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how much of an impact he had on me. It even went as far as that I actually started mimicking him. Because I used to wear a lot of gold around my neck. Mr. T, thank you very much. But yeah, I stole that colour from Mr. T, and then when Razor came in, I was like, hang on a minute, this guy's got the gold. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to add the toothpick. So I actually added the toothpick with it. So
yeah, do you know?
It helped me with the cheek.
Absolutely. But you know what? I think it's a case that probably any fan that watched him, anytime someone had a toothpick, they'd just put it in their mouth that they're suddenly Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. And I'll give a personal story of how he influenced me. So I do like the Extreme Improv show, and obviously a lot of that is influenced by Wrestling Championship belt or whatever. And we had a live show last week, obviously before his passing. But literally in every single show, I'm influenced by Scott Hall, because whenever someone wins the championship belt, I'm like doing the pointing thing, which I take directly from him. And every single time I've done that, I have like the thought of I'm doing like some outsider stuff here or whatever. But yeah, so I think everyone, there's so many things, the throwing the arms out, there's so many things that were recognisable. Just the cool walk, the slicking back hair. Well, when I used to have some, but all this kind of stuff. Assad.
Fingers, all scared fingers.
Yeah. Oh, so there's so much about his personality. Just such a strong and memorable character. But Assad, from the ether, we will come to you.
Right. So apart from the stuff that is already out there with Razor Ramon, all the big moments with 1, 2, 3 Kid, and all the big moments with the match with Bret Hart, the Royal Rumble was pretty great. I really loved that match for sure. But one thing that stands out to me was the whole angle where Sting was about to join the NWO, and they had this fake Sting angle. I think it was Fall Brawl. The match was a War Games match, and Razor Ramon had started the match. And the whole match was pretty great, and Ramon was. I just feel that this match in particular is a really underrated match. And sure, the whole Shawn Michaels matches from WrestleMania and SummerSlam are also really good. But I really love War Games matches, and I would highly recommend people to watch this match if they haven't already.
Yeah. So this was War Games. Do you know what year?
I don't know. 95, 96.
It's got to be at least 96. Yeah.
Yeah, 96, I feel, yeah.
Okay.
It was on the fake Sting, wasn't it? It was the fake Sting coming in towards the end.
There was fake Sting.
Yeah, I think that's
in the middle of the match. It was so funny. And then the real Sting showed up, and so it was really good.
He comes in,
Yeah,
kicks
it was
everyone's
96. I
ass,
just looked it up. It was 96.
Yeah, he comes in, kicks everyone's ass in the road, and turns to the rest of his team and just goes, "Do you believe me now?" And then just leaves.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote an article about Scott Hall a couple of days ago, and I said a story in it which I'll share again with you here, because it's one of the things that stood out to me. I remember and it's not like the most classic thing, and I like that we're pulling out some slightly more random stories and matches and stuff. but I remember like when we first started getting like triple threat tag team matches, like 3-way tag team matches, and they'd be like in the WWE. I remember that whoever was like the Smoking Guns, the Body Dynamics, or whatever, and then you'd end up with a situation where the two heels get tagged in, and now they've got to fight each other, and they're like, oh, what do we got to do? And it was like when, do you remember like probably the '89 Royal Rumble when Axe and Smash, like they start off and then they start fighting, and it's like, well, it's the Royal Rumble. But I remember watching in the mid '90s, and it's like, oh, they've got to fight each other now. They're tag team partners. But then a few probably weeks or months later, we had a triple, like a 3-way tag team match in WCW, and the Outsiders were in it. I think in my head the Nasty Boys were in it, and I forget who the other team was. And Hall and Nash both got tagged in, and they sort of looked to each other like this, and I think Hall just dropped to his knees and Nash covered him, and suddenly the other teams all had to dive in. I was like, yes, that's the obvious thing to do. You pick up the win, you pick up the loss, but you've picked up the win, the match is over and you've won. And it was just this kind of like, oh, we're smart, we're the heels, but we can always outsmart you, and we're never phased. And it is that whole, ooh, whatever, they were just like the coolest characters, like the Outsiders, the NWO, especially. But I think when you look at the NWO and the attitude and everything, yes, it came from the Clique, but realistically, it was even though like there was Hogan, Nash, and then Hall probably in that order. Hall was the one that started it, and he was the one that I think personified the attitude of the NWO more than anyone else.
I'll say something, and I think this is where I have to leave.
Yes, sure.
So, but before that, I think, again, this might be the young fan in me, but something that I feel is that I really like is his Hall of Fame speech. I absolutely loved it. And I've seen a lot of articles quote Hall saying, hard work pays off, dreams come true, bad times don't last, but bad guys do. I think that's one of the best things that has ever been said in a Hall of Fame speech. So really love that. So,
yeah, I remember his Hall of Fame speech was like, I remember it was particularly short, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like literally like maybe 2 or 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
But yeah, had that very famous quote from it at the end of that.
I read something about that speech during the week, saying that he just was working with the guy he wrote it with was talking about it, and he said apparently he just didn't want to take up too much time. He didn't want to do a rambling long speech, all that sort of stuff. So that's why it was so short. It wasn't necessarily because of time. It was just he literally just didn't want to do it.
Yeah. I think I heard that somewhere like around the time period that it happened, and then when the NWO were inducted like a year ago, I think he said very little to nothing there as well.
It's a fun fact for you. I've literally just discovered. Apparently, he was the one to suggest to Sting to do the crow gimmick.
Yeah.
He saw him growing his hair out and said to him, "Have you seen the crow?" And then sort of it went from there.
Yeah, the rest is history. David King, DK, what? Give us some more of your thoughts.
One of the things I remember about Razor Ramon, I've, for better or for worse, watched all the Raws from 1993 to 2003, and I have seen some stuff. Let me tell you, but 93 Raws is not really the greatest stuff. But Razor Ramon came out, and it was his show. When he came out, it was his show, and it was almost like there for a little while, like the entire show was just built around Razor Ramon. Anybody else was on, it's like, unless you got lucky and Bret Hart made an appearance and The Undertaker. But no, they would have matches and angles and feuds like the Bastion Booger and 1-2-3 Kid and a few different others. And you could just tell that he was a star. And WWF in 93, 94, 95 did not have a lot of bankable stars. So it made sense when Raw was still the B show to build something around Razor Ramon while Bret Hart and everybody else went and wrestled on Superstars. And that was like, wow. That was like, you could just tell he is amazing because he can just make what is easily some of the worst Raws ever. His parts of it just works, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, honestly, like, it was one of the things that I think was so cool about like the Razor Ramon character is he kind of somewhat organically won the audience over because he was just people just liked him, and so when he became face, his character didn't change at all because they didn't need to really do anything to turn him face. People just started liking him more and more, and yeah, he'd like he adapted his character so like he could like interact more with the fans, but he was still the same character. He still came out with the chains, the machismo, the arrogance, the lot, and he was still the same character, regardless of being like the heel or the face. And he just, whereas there were so many silly gimmicks in the WWE during that era, his stood out as something which is kind of a bit timeless. That his character as Razor Ramon would still work today, the same as it did in the 90s. And again, this is why there was like the lawsuit for WCW getting sued of like they're just taking Razor Ramon and Diesel's characters, but even though he was basically the same when he was the Diamond Starred and everything before.
I'm gonna say something.
Yeah, go for
I
it,
think,
TJ.
Fergal Devitt, that was Finn Balor in New Japan, was specifically inspired from Razor Ramon. I mean, he didn't wear gold chains and all that, but he was the Bullet Club was the introduction of the cool heels in New Japan. They were far different from anything we had seen in Japan previously, and I think Fergal Devitt was the cool heel. He's gonna do whatever he wants. No one has any say over what he wants, and he could like no sell finish, and people would not say anything to him because you go and tell him anything, his crew's gonna come and beat you up. So I think modern day Fergal Devitt is very much inspired from Razor Ramon. So
He's more of his own man these days, but I see what you're saying.
yeah, not these as well. From New Japan. From Devitt from New Japan.
Well, Bullet Club were basically
Bullet Club,
a passage of the NWO, weren't they? So it's pretty much doing exactly the same stuff, you know, doing the two suites.
Yeah.
Well, you lit
stuff.
Bullet Club for life. It's just like new world order.
Them doing the whole NWO thing as well. No, completely see what you're saying on that score, but I think there was I just love the fact that you're saying, it's WWF saying, Razor Ramon's out gimmick and all this sort of stuff. Essentially, Razor Ramon was Scott Hall doing Scarface.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. He sold it to Vince White, this character, and didn't really tell Vince that it was actually from the film Scarface.
But also, the Diamond Stud was no different as well.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, no different whatsoever.
I'm sorry, I don't have many regrets in the world in my life. Sorry, there is one, and I bumped into. Well, I was this close to Razor and Nash. This is probably going back in 1998-ish or 99. They were actually at a music station, and I was right there. And at the time, I wasn't really watching wrestling. I was out of it. And I was just like, hang on a minute. That's Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. And they're messing around. And stupidly, I thought I was too cool.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we all make mistakes. I was, thing that I was remembering, I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of the Ddt Iron Man Championship, right? The one that looked well, anyway.
I am.
The what championship?
Scott Hall and one of the what?
Which championship?
The Ddt Iron Man Championship, the one that's kind of like WWE's 24/7. It's kind of gone from Japan to America. Like Joey Ryan had it a bunch of times, things like that. Well, I remember a clip when Scott Hall actually won it, and I don't remember who he beat. It actually might have been like Joey Ryan. I mean, he didn't really wrestle much. But then he had it. He's like showing off to Kevin Nash, like, "Hey, look what I got." And then a wrestler comes up to him and says, "Hey, Scott Hall, can you sign this for me?" And Scott signs it. And then after he signs it, the guy shows the paper, shows the paper to the referee, and on the back, where Scott Hall couldn't see, is the words, "I give up." And then he lost the Iron Man title.
Wow.
Wow.
No, do you know what? I wasn't even familiar with this title. I'm just literally looking
It's
up
crazy.
now.
It's from DDT in Japan, and it's been won by such individuals as a ladder, a dog, various people in the crowd, and yeah, it's been on.
Oh wow!
Line.
It goes back to 2000. So it was probably inspired by the original Hardcore Championship.
Yes. Yeah, I've read that it was the hardcore title that inspired it, but I'm not a Japan expert. Roy might know better, maybe.
Yeah, I do, but I think I really have to leave right now. So unfortunately.
No, that's no worries, TJ.
I'm not familiar with the Iron Man title, to be honest. However, before going, I'll just say one last thing, something that I really wanted to say. So it was from a tweet by DDP, and I completely agree with it. So Razor Ramon Scott Hall was someone who would do whatever he wanted to do. He would not hit the Razor's edge if he knew that his opponent was going to kick out of it. During the last moments of his life, he was feuding with Vince McMahon's arch nemesis and Shawn Michaels, his tag team partner from Backlash, who, so he wasn't gonna listen to the guy upstairs either. He had to put Death over, but he wasn't gonna do it clean. He came back, even when they removed life support, he was there fighting for a while. He was not gonna put Death over clean. And I think that's a testament to who Scott Hall was. So,
yeah, certainly.
That being said, fortunately I have to leave for some personal issues that I have.
No, that's cool, TJ. Thanks so much, TJ. We'll catch you again next week, I'm sure.
Yeah. See ya.
We'll continue this chat about Scott Hall, but there are a few other things that we can cover that's obviously happened in the last week. It's been obviously nothing matches to that, but I think we should mention just about Big E's injury and stuff like this. A couple of things, perhaps if you've seen Dynamite or whatever, we can come to them in a little bit. But back, Assad, are you still with us? No, he's not.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Yeah. Because it's difficult to bring you in. So what? Anything else you'd like to share on Scott Hall?
No, that's pretty much it. Everyone has shared. Everything that was on my mind.
Okay, I'm going to put something to you, and Assad, you can say on this first, and anyone else can put in this as well. But and we don't have to necessarily rank people like this, especially if they're people that have passed away. But surely Scott Hall ranks up there as possibly the greatest wrestler to not win the world championship who could have been a world champion. There's very few. Coincidentally today I've got an Owen Hart shirt on. And there's a couple of people, Owen Hart included, Ted DiBiase, who kind of won the world title, but then it was stricken from the record or whatever. But Scott Hall has to be one of the most prominent figures never to get, a world title, even though they main evented, going for the world title and stuff like this.
That's the thing. It's when you think back, for me at least, I think back of people that never actually won the title. And he's not really the first one that I think of, because I think in my head that he's already been that champion. And that just shows how much on the level he is. I can even picture it in my head. The old winged eagle, thinking of it around his waist, but it never happened.
No.
I was surprised when he didn't win in WCW. I would have thought he would have got the title there.
But it's just because, I think a couple of things happened there. So obviously Hogan was going to be if whilst he was in the NWO, it was just going to be Hogan, and then when it wasn't Hogan, it was Nash, and then the sad thing is this is when some of his personal demons started really rearing their head. So it's hard to think of it like this, but Scott Hall was out of WCW a year before it closed. So, it was he certainly could have, but coming in at the same time as Nash and then Hogan being the leader, he could have, if it had literally just been him come in, then I think he could have been a world champion. But it was just unfortunately in that sense, the wrong, even though so much good happened with the NWO and it kicked off the Attitude Era and all this, it was sort of the perfect storm of the wrong roster for him to go in as the world champion. I'm trying to think if he did even get a world title shot in WCW.
He did. He won one of the World War III events and
Yes.
wrestled Sting, I think.
Oh, okay,
Thought he
yeah,
was in a
I had it
triple
in my
threat,
head
too.
that somewhere he may have done.
I thought he was in a triple threat match too near the end. I
Yeah,
haven't
that's
seen it here, so I don't
vaguely
know.
in my mind as well, but I can't think
Yeah,
what
I
it
think
was.
maybe him and Jarrett maybe towards
Yeah.
maybe something like that. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm thinking TNA. I don't know.
Well, true as well, and
So
also
my-
like TNA, like the sad thing about that is that he was available for when TNA started, and they brought him in, and I was so like wanting Scott Hall to win the NWA World Title then, but they knew they couldn't afford his price tag, so they're like, we'll use him on a couple of tapings, and then we'll bring him back in a few weeks' time so he stays afloat. But they couldn't afford to keep him there as a regular player.
Yeah, there's another little factoid that I always sort of remember for some reason, is that Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, was never in the Royal Rumble match. The entire time he was there, he was never in the Royal Rumble match.
Wow, that is a trivia
He
fact.
wrestled Royal Rumbles, he wrestled for Brett for the title, he was in 2 Intercontinental title matches, or 3 actually, because he lost the title to Goldust, he lost one to Jarrett, and I think wrestled IRS, another one.
Yeah.
And so all
Douglas.
4 or 5 Rumbles he was part of, he was never in the actual match.
Wow.
That's
how many
insane.
years was he in? How many years was he in the WWE?
It was from 92
92.
92 to 96.
And
Yeah.
then
92 to 96.
That was W from like 96 till 99, 2000. So the thing about that is
He also had a low card run in
He managed to
WCW in the
accomplish.
very early 90s.
So he managed to accomplish all he's done in 2 4-year stints in the big companies. You think about the amount of people that are on TV now that have been around for so long, people like Dolph Ziggler or Seth Rollins or people like this, who I couldn't count on one hand the amount of memorable moments they've had, but I could count multiple ones.
Hey, Dave, like Dolph Ziggler is your NXT 2.0 world champion right now, so
Yeah, and I'm pretty
That's-
sure he has
That's
appeared.
3.
I'm pretty sure Ziggler has appeared in like 14 Rumbles or some shit.
yeah.
I'm
Exactly,
not
yeah.
entirely sure, but that's ridiculous to even
It's
think
like-
about it.
He's like secondary to Kane or something, I think.
And how many has he skinned the cat in?
Yeah, a lot.
Probably
I think
all
he
of
must-
them. That's
he's
like
the
his
winner
spot.
of that. Yeah.
So my question to you, David, sir, was that
Which one? There's 3 of us.
well, if there's David, sir, then it can only be one, and it's clearly Dave Green. But no, but yeah, honestly, my question was when you mentioned that Razor Ramon was one of the best wrestlers to never win a title. By best wrestler, did you mean like hindering capability or like overall charisma, or what exactly?
Do you know what? For me, like when I just talk about like the best wrestlers of all time, it is kind of like the overall package. Like I don't think you can. I think if you specifically separate saying, oh, the best in ring or the best high flyer, best technician or whatever, then you can get into that. But when you just say about like the best wrestler of all time, or like it's just about like the overall what they were. He was a main event level talent. He was like a big guy who could do the power moves, and yet he was especially like in the WWE days, WWF days, like the athleticism. He could hang with the he made a career like with his feud with the 1-2-3 Kid, with matches with Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Jeff Jarrett. Like I think did he win his first Intercontinental title? Was it against Rick Martel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he was always the big guy, but he'd wrestle the smaller guys' matches. And yeah, so anyway, Asad, why do you mention that?
No, he definitely was the whole package, and it made so much sense to put the title on him, but they did not. And I would still, it's sort of controversial to think that he might not be the topmost guy, because if you think about names, then Roddy Piper never held the world title either.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. That's why I said oh, sorry, I was just going to say. So, like, I specifically said so it's not about like ranking them, because there are some up there where we can say about like Jake Roberts, Roddy Piper, like Rick Rude, if you don't count the international WCW world title as the world title. So, but like, look at the company. Look at the company of like who we're talking about there.
And it was a different era back then as well, because like everything was Hulk Hogan.
Everything was Hogan centric.
Yeah, so
What was that, David?
Hogan must pose.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Controversial. I wanted Razor to actually beat Bret. And I was a Bret Hart fan, but I actually wanted him to win that Rumble match. But
Do you know what? That was just when I was just first watching, and for me, as much as like I went on to like love everything Scott Hall did, that was like I'd been watching for probably less than a year, and I was just like, I so wanted Brett to win. I so wanted Brett to win that one. So, you know, that one worked out in that sense for me then. But also, like, with the ladder matches, the Razor and Shawn ladder matches, I was so upset when Shawn got the win back. I was like, what? I was like, that's ridiculous. I just thought it was like the craziest thing. That I was like, Razor can't. Well, although like, look at the 1, 2, 3 kid. Like, he'd put over people. Razor, and like when you see him in shoot interviews, he didn't care about the wins really, as long as he got the paychecks. You know, he was business minded in this sense.
Yeah. Also, shall we take a moment to acknowledge how great Razor Ramon was when it came to selling the Stone Cold Stunner?
Yes.
Of course. Yes.
Oh my god.
It's like slinging springs on his feet.
I tell you what, I love the one where it's actually going out the stadium and like out of the planet. They come back.
I've seen that, yeah.
Fall flat on his back. Nobody sold a stunner that way.
Brilliant.
Do you know, I don't know if I can find it. Like, I was finding clips of that to make like a video the other day, and I looked up Austin and Razor Stunner, and I think they'd had like a match, or perhaps it was a tag match on Raw, like a week or two leading up to it. And other than the camera angle just not being quite as amazing as the WrestleMania match, Hall really oversold it on the Raw as well. You see, he really, like, I think first X-Pac took a stun and he flew, but then Hall, he was just like, he defied physics to be able to fly across the ring with it. And I just love that there was the fact that, see, this was like the bad side of the click, where it's like, if we've got to put someone over, we're going to make the opponent's moves look so devastating that literally it's like, well, there's no way I could have kicked out of it because it sent me 15 foot up in the air.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, does anyone want to share anything else about the story? Like, one other thought I'd say, something which I thought was a little bit heartwarming, like within the midst of everything that's happened in the last few days, is just the amount of like outpouring of like show of support and care and love and memories of everything for Scott Hall really shows, you know, how much he meant to so many people all over the world. All of the wrestlers that like Kevin Owens on Raw paying tribute multiple times. Dynamite started last night, and I thought it was a really nice touch if you've seen it, or if you haven't. JR started off with the traditional, as they do, the Brody Lee tribute, but he adapted it, so it was, hey yo, it's Wednesday, and you know what that means. And I thought that was a really nice touch. I don't expect that they'll continue it beyond that, because obviously he wasn't ever in AEW, but from JR, who obviously had a history with him, I thought that was a good touch there.
Also, I think Damian Priest also did something as a tribute.
A Razor's
for his
Edge?
match. No, I'm not talking about the
He's
Razor.
got the entrance, isn't he?
Yeah, maybe with the entrance and how he finished the pinfall right after the pinfall.
Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts for now? Obviously, we can come back if anyone wants anything else on Hall, but Gav?
I wanted to say, like, he's one of those rare wrestlers that doesn't seem to irate anyone. It's not a bad word to say about him, and like, obviously, he seems like he was a nice person, because like the outpouring from everyone, it was just.
Yeah. Okay. So, guys, I'll share something just with you here quickly because I was able to find it. This is the other match or whatever on Raw, and you'll see that the camera angle doesn't give it the same justice as the WrestleMania one, but Hall still really sells the stunner really well. So there's X-Pac going, and he flies a lot as well. But then once again, here goes. Oh, look at that! It's just like this delayed flying back. Let's see if I can get that. So it's a little bit better focus. If I.
I think I
Everyone
watched
knows
that.
about the rocks
back.
still at the stomach, but the Scotland. Yeah. I think that's next time.
So he flies quite well.
That's a good one.
Let's just watch the delay on it. Fantastic.
Also, fun fact. Wrestling trivia of the week. The original idea for Razor Ramon was for him to have an actual razor in his mouth, but that was too dangerous, so they replaced it with a toothpick.
What? Why would anyone have a razor in their mouth?
In the ghetto,
Yeah,
it happens.
people do.
Really?
Blade, brother. The blade.
Yeah. They carry, I was going to say, they carry the razor up in the roof of their mouth. So,
Yeah.
That's
So,
And the idea was for him to play with the razor
wow.
with his tongue. Or to have it on his tongue basically and play it on his tongue, but then that was too dangerous. So
That's a dangerous idea.
Wow. Okay. So there's other things to that we can cover in the show. I don't know like what we'll get in terms of like some of the more silly game rounds or whatever. But let's move on to like another of the big stories, which would have probably been the biggest talking point. So I don't think we should like ignore it. Obviously, Big E devastating neck injury last week on SmackDown. And I don't know how long he'll be out of action, but anyone want to give any thoughts on that? Who here saw either SmackDown last week or saw clips of what happened?
it's
Oh,
just...
that was a tough weekend. Just
Sorry,
that
David,
and
go for
Scott
it.
Hall. Said that was a tough weekend. That and Scott Hall at the same time. Jesus, but I really like Big E, and I'm glad to hear that he doesn't have anything beyond the fracture, so maybe he can return. But C1 fracture is supposed to be really bad. I have my hopes, but man, I have my hopes to come back, but I'm afraid that he won't, or he won't be able to come back in the way he used to. That was brutal. That looked bad.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
my instant reaction to it, like, and maybe it's just me getting old or whatever. But I was like, oh, did they need to do? Did they need to do that on the outside? They do so many things where it's like it's asking for accidents, and then they happen very rarely. But when they do, and like from like again when like there was doctors or whatever they've reported have commented on it, saying that one. Like this is like the particular break is one that doesn't always heal that well, and also if he wasn't such a big guy, then that could have been like a fatal injury to most other people.
Yeah, but the thing is, David, it didn't matter that if he took the bump right outside the ring, because if he were to fall the same way inside the ring, he would have damaged his neck anyway.
Not
The
necessarily.
location of the bump didn't really matter.
No, because the difference is on the outside you've got concrete and then the padding versus the ring. It's going to have a lot more give.
You can have a little bit more spring in the ring, but
no, I do take your point. So it was one of these things. But go on, Gav.
yeah, what I was going to say is, first of all, speedy recovery, get back better. Normally, neck injuries, like the worst side, probably a year and a half, probably to recover from it. But he's probably going to have to change up his style when he comes back. And what I was going to get at with the belly to belly, like I counted, like how many times was that used in that particular SmackDown as well? It was just directly afterwards, Drew McIntyre, the whole fiasco. There were so many belly to bellies that was given there, and I was just like, hang on a minute, we've just seen what happened to Big E. Like, why are we still going back to this? And I don't know. I think sometimes less is more. Sometimes, like when you see something over and over again, it was like we was there talking about it in our chat. How many Canadian destroyers do you need to watch?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Tonight?
I mean, this is where, like, obviously we've all had a good laugh with the rules of control the narrative that have come out, where it was like rule number 5, no Tope Suicinas, no Canadian destroyers. But like the reason I kind of laughed on that is because, like, I think when we spoke about Revolution a couple of weeks ago, I literally said how many Canadian destroyers were there throughout that show. But there are some moves where it's like there's more risk, and it makes me think of obviously going back to what happened with Droz many years ago, and from my memory of that, and anyone correct me if I was wrong, but I think the move that went wrong was some kind of power bomb, but after that they banned pile drivers, which was a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
I think that was more to do with Austin's injuries.
Yeah, but why did they time it then? Because obviously Austin's injury was 97, and then this was 99.
But he had to actually get out for a year in 99.
Oh, hang on, guys, can't all speak at once. David, you were speaking?
I said his injury was in 97, but he actually had to get out in 99 for a year because he wrestled up until that point, but he couldn't avoid surgery in 99, and it had to be about the same time the Droz injury happened. So we just decided, you know what? Except for Undertaker and Kane, that's my opinion.
Yeah, quite possibly. Although, once again, and again, the coincidence I've got the Owen Hart shirt on is the pile driver Owen did. I think I remember seeing him do the sit down tombstone at least once before, but no one did it that way. It was like it wasn't the safe way of doing it.
I was going to say, like, when you jump with that, you've got to really pray that your neck and your head is tucked in.
Yeah.
The guy, and like, that's the thing. It's the guy that's actually holding you, that's protecting you, and I mean, you're giving your life to someone. Like, you're actually handing your life to someone else there, and you're hoping that they're going to protect you. And unfortunately, I knew like there were like talks beforehand with Austin saying, you are going to go to your knees, right? And Owen said, no, I'm going to do it this way. And I think I heard it somewhere where...
I think it might even be in his... Is it in his book, or where is this, Dave?
So it's DVD. He says, you go, and no one will go on us, and Austin just thinks he's just joking, because that's his reputation for being a prankster and all that sort of stuff. So I'm pretty sure Owen did it one more time after the Austin incident on TV.
After?
I think it's Flash Funk. For some reason, that sticks in my mind that he ended the match with that, and everyone was like, "Oh shit!" Obviously, he did it well because he obviously did it right that time.
Austin's head was below below Owen's knees when he did that pile driver. That's a lot of it too. Most of the safe ones are always above the knees.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Just going back to the belly to belly thing, and just saying that about the amount of times you see those sort of moves. It's not even just the person who's doing it; it's who you're doing it to. And why is Big E taking a move like that on the floor?
Yeah.
Why is he doing that at all? And especially, the only people who should be taking that sort of thing, that sort of move from, are people like Brock Lesnar or in his heyday Kurt Angle, who can do moves like that do them safely and get the person over the top like that.
Yeah.
Giving it to someone like Rich Holland, no disrespect to him, obviously I know he must be devastated to have done that and to have injured Big E in that way. But why is this guy doing overhead bellies on the floor?
And on the flip side of that,
I heard about this thing, really, when I heard about Big E's injury and I saw the clip, the first thing that came to my mind, like, who the fuck is Rich Holland? I had no earthly idea who this guy was. And the only thing that I realized, and I completely agree with Dave, I did not understand why a guy like, Big E would take a bump from that guy. It just didn't make sense whatsoever. A guy like Big E should be protected based on his physique, and he really needs to take bumps, from guys like Lesnar or someone like that. So completely agree with who.
The unfortunate thing is, like, it's not ballet. You're going to get hurt anyway, and part of the reason why I'm here right now. You're going to get hurt. You know it's going to happen. You just hope it's not going to be an injury, that you can't recover from. So,
just to flip it to sort of like an interesting angle, the whole thing. During this whole commotion, this whole thing with the whole match and the injury and everything like that, we've all just completely forgotten the fact that Butch...
I knew you were going to say that, Dave. I knew you were going to say that. Come on, what was that?
And you've got Butch, and you've got Rich Holland, real name Luke Menzies. You've got the new Bushwhackers, Butch and Luke, everyone.
I tell you what, though, if I was the Bushwhackers, I'd be fairly pissed off about this. I'd be like, come on.
Yeah.
you know.
Like, no, nay.
Yeah,
Right,
like
we have-
why does WWE like years ago when like someone would come in from a different promotion and suddenly we'd
If it's a
have
rib.
yeah, I know, but like it's crazy. So like years ago, like if they brought in Shane Douglas and suddenly he's Dean
This is
Douglas. What's that, Gav?
Men in Black.
All right, yeah, why
was that,
But like,
Gav?
so if they like just rename someone, then it's like, oh well, they brought them in from a different company. And if they drop someone's name, so like Rusev used to be Alexander Rusev or whatever with Cesaro and stuff like that. Buddy Murphy, it's just Murphy. We just forget that, like, oh, okay, they're slightly rebranding. But Gunther and Butch, they can't just completely change someone's name that has been on your television for like 5 years.
I'll tell you why they're doing it, David. It's because in this particular case of these two, they've got reputations from like before they signed. Then they signed with NXT UK and all that sort of stuff, and they've like added a bit more value to their stuff. So I've been watching Pete Dunne and Walter like long before they joined WWE, because from local events that I would go to see in London, like Progress or Pro or wherever, and they've got these massive reputations and everything like that over here. And as soon as they sign their full-time contacts at WWE, they all go, "Why? We're going to take you and we're going to make you a brand new star, and we're going to completely devalue you in the eyes of everyone who's watching you now, who remembers you from that day." So when they go back out the Indies, when in about a year or two time, they've both been fired and both been released in their contracts because they couldn't get over with this new character, then they're suddenly devalued in the eyes of the audience. So at least that's what they think they'll do. Instead, they'll probably both go to AEW and suddenly everyone will be like, "Yes, they're finally free."
Yeah.
They'll be on Dark.
Can I just
They'll
say
be on
something?
no, Volta will not be on Dark. But I tell you what, here's another conspiracy theory of why they've done it. This is further punishing Triple H. It's like if we haven't fired his guys, we're gonna repackage them and we're gonna name them after like SS like what was it like an air like what was it like an air
Submarine Commander.
submarine commander or something like this. And we're gonna have
dressed like an extra from Peaky Blinders.
yeah, you're absolutely right. He looks ridiculous.
Butch sounds like an extra Duke of Hazzard as far as the name goes. Sounds like somebody would be like a guest on a Duke of Hazzard. This is my cousin Butch.
It's this whole thing. It's not even like cousin or anything like that. It's this whole thing of like I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch this segment just because it was all that people on Twitter were talking about was Pete Dunne has now come in and is now Butch, and it's the whole thing of like Sheamus saying, "Oh yeah, well we got our new friend, we've known him for years and all this sort of stuff, and we used to call him Butch." It's like, that's plainly ridiculous. You've never met this guy before. This guy. You've been in WWE since 2011.
Yeah.
So when were you hanging around with Pete Dunne in the docks? I mean, for starters, you've been hanging around with him when he was a teenager. So that's a bit like worrying. You're going back and forth in America, going to the suburbs of Birmingham, and hanging around with young teenage Pete Dunne and the rugby player Luke Menzies before he's even thought about becoming a wrestler.
Hey, you might have been in the bullring. Hey.
Exactly.
I think WWE is just. I mean, never mind the Triple H theory. I think WWE is probably just getting a little bit too involved in doing unnecessary. You got to think if you're going to make a background for a wrestler that's already established and known by some people, why do you got to make up this entire backstory about him knowing Sheamus? Are we first trying to say, well, all British, Scottish, and Irish wrestlers hang together? Why isn't Becky Lynch part of the team? I don't know. Probably for the best for her, thank God. But it's like they could have just brought him in, let him just ruin some people's joints like he does in NXT, and kick some butt, and that's all you have to do. Just keep it simple. But they don't do that sometimes, and I, as a WWE fan, it's frustrating how they just don't keep it simple when they could, because any writer knows you don't create an extra backstory if you don't need to.
Yeah.
Well,
I was going to say, if Vince is listening, he'd probably put that now. On Raw, you'll see Becky with them now.
I'll tell you why I don't see, Gunther or Butch to be such a bad name change. All right, I really don't feel it's that bad because we've had something called Shorty G for chat gaming. So if
Yeah,
you
but
have
this is
something
back
like that,
to-
Yeah, but hang on,
Okay,
hang on. That is the same logic as being like, you know, the hottest girl at fat camp. Just to be completely cruel about it, it's like just because there's a shorty G doesn't mean that Butch, just you know, by comparison, is therefore good.
Look at
I
Shorty
know,
P.
but the thing is that we've seen Pete Dunne be Pete Dunne, alright? We've not seen Butch being Butch. So unless and until it fails entirely, we can't be, judging this whole development.
I was going to say, like, to your point, we did see the one-man gang transform into Hakeem.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Like, but the thing is, again, when I started watching, like, it was just after the era of Akeem, and when I was seeing old tapes and that, I thought Akeem was great. I saw Akeem before I really knew who Dusty Rhodes was.
Also, I really did not.
Guys, sorry, go on, David.
I always one-man gang for a while there. I used to think was inspired Zangief from Street Fighter because they look alike.
Yeah, the Mohawk.
I think the guy who inspired Zangief was actually a Russian wrestler who wrestled in New Japan for a long while in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Oh wow, I'd be interested to know who that was. Assad, you were going to say?
No, I wasn't going to say anything, but I was just going to name drop some people who have had the worst name changes, basically.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
Yeah, go on then. Who? Like who?
I don't know. There have been so many, ridiculous things that have happened. But on the top of my mind, Slapjack.
Yeah.
Who was Slapjack? Remind me who Slapjack?
About Harry Barry Windham as the
Oh, yeah.
They also renamed the Viking Raiders, right?
Oh yeah, they came in like the Viking Experience at first, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They've gone from Rowan Hansen to Eric and Ivar.
I was going to say, this isn't only... I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I don't care. Jericho, come for me. That new Jericho...
Are the authors of Pain still employed by the WWE?
Sorry.
Authors of Pain? I don't know, actually.
No, they're not, no.
No, they're not. Wow.
No.
But was it, Gav, were you bringing up that Jericho is now the sports entertainer?
Well, I didn't mind that. It's the Jericho Appreciation.
Oh, Jericho Appreciation Society. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So lame. So
I was going to say as an example of bad name changes and everything like that. Well, this one's a bit of a caveat. I'm going to say Dewdrop.
Oh, that is awful.
Yeah,
It just sounds like an insult.
She was Viper in the Indies. Obviously, she can't use the name Viper because that's associated with Randy Orton, so they kind of bring her in.
This is Vince saying she's fat. Look at her, she's so fat. That's what that is.
Yeah.
But I didn't necessarily mind it as much because it was that thing of like this is Eva Marie naming her and all that sort of stuff, and her sort of like having what, and then sort of you know what, I am doing a job. This is what I've come in with. I'll do it.
I was going to say, Eva's gone. She should be dropping that, really. But
yeah, but I think they made a thing of it, didn't they? I think I read it somewhere that they just say, well, I'm just going with do jobs. That's what.
Also, what the hell did they even do to Nikki Cross with that whole superhero gimmick?
Yeah.
She's doing at the moment.
Almost a superhero. Like they thought, like, okay, what do these letters? You know, almost a superhero. It's like it's awful. It's awful.
That was like superhero in training, wasn't it?
He's superhero. Yeah. Oh my god. But see, that almost works better. That almost works better. You know, back in that era.
I now fully, fully agree with David Postansky here. This is a big fuck you to Triple H. Everything that he has created, it is all going down the drain.
Yeah.
Everything. And I mean everything.
He's had a rough
Also,
year.
where is Triple H these days?
He's had a rough the last 9 months.
But doesn't that just show that Triple H is better than Vince then?
Well, maybe, but okay, so let's add to this conspiracy theory, because their new, I forget what it stands for now, but their new program to like the pre-NXT is called NIL. So Triple H is in charge of NIL. I mean, come on.
What?
Does anyone remember what it stands for?
NIL?
Next in line.
Right.
Did you not hear this? This was 2 or 3 months ago. WWE.
Yeah.
I literally was on their Twitter actually earlier. I don't know if I'll be able to find it.
I thought you meant that was their new show. I know the new one's called Level Up, isn't it? The one that's replaced 205 Live.
Okay, look, here it is. They're WWE Recruit. WWE Recruit. And let's see.
Right.
So whoever she is, and when you see it, Triple H is in charge of this, and Triple H is in charge of nil.
Wow.
It's so blatant. It's so blatant, and I don't get it. Like, did Triple H cheat on Stephanie, and then they just like, well, you're gonna have to take some punishment, kid, or something like this?
There's a rumor.
Ow.
There's a rumor I've heard about that. I don't know if it's true or not. But Nick Khan said that in an interview that he didn't explain which person it was, but when he arrived to join part of the executive team, one of the longtime executives made him feel like he didn't belong, and even said to him, "You're lucky that you have a seat at the table." And who knows who that might be? But man, if that was Triple H, that would explain a lot.
Yeah.
It could be Roman Reigns if he's talking about tables.
Oh man. Okay, guys. Anything? Because we've kind of sidetracked. Any other ridiculous names? We didn't mention Kerwin White.
Long one.
But WWE have had some absolutely horrible gimmicks over the
The
years.
man who makes a difference. Rikishi's gimmick in between the head shrinkers and the Sultan.
The Sultan?
The man who makes a difference. That was his name.
Well, oh, Fatu.
25,
But wasn't it? Yeah.
Wow.
It was still Haku, but he was still called. He was technically called Haku, but he would sometimes be literally introduced, and you see the name in a bar. The man who makes a difference.
Make a difference for two. Yeah.
His name was a sentence, and then he had like kind
It
of.
was just, because he disappeared, didn't he? It was a head shrinker for the longest time, and then suddenly he disappeared, and like in this tracksuit, very 90s, like
Very 90s.
Yeah.
all the very like
They found an extra large thing off. I don't know.
like the De La Soul video style, like colours, all that sort of stuff, and stuff
Speaking
like
of
that.
90s,
He's on the street.
He's a man who makes a difference.
Gabs. Meat. Oh. Like WWE, so stuff like that. Like, okay, so what have they got about? So if they get like a second generation or third generation wrestler, it's like, so Stan Stasiak, former world champion, here's his son, Meat. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, here's his son, Michael McGillicuddy. It's like, what? These names are awful. Even, I'll be honest, we're used to it now, but Dolph Ziggler is an awful name. What was the other guys? Who was the other one that did okay before Ziggler from the Spirit Squad? Who was the other one that was there for a while? Kenny Dykstra. Like, all of these names are just trash. Like, all of them, they're not a world champion. Like,
I know he's not. I know he's not new, but we have talked about it before, and I still can't believe they didn't go with his actual birth name, but the family lineage name, Bron Breakker. Why is he called Bron Breakker when you've got literally his last name is Rex Steiner? Why not call him Rex Steiner?
Yeah.
Probably wants to keep WWE from owning it. That's my theory.
But then apparently they might induct at least Rick Steiner, if not the Steiner brothers, this year.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Go on, let's look the Steiners, but Scott might not do it, so I'll put Rick in on his own.
Do you know what? Like,
41.5% Scott Steiner would be at that Hall of Fame.
Like, honestly though, like, this is no disrespect to Rick Steiner, who obviously was he was out there before Scott Steiner joined and everything. But I think just inducting Rick Steiner without Scott Steiner, like, it's wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to see them go as a team.
Yeah, they need to go as a team.
I will say though,
that's when they really got over, when they were together.
I will say though, I think it makes more sense than Charmel going in.
I've got to give it to her. I've got to give Charmel her props. I don't think Booker could have worked without that.
King Booker?
King Booker!
That
But really, a Hall of Fame character for one character. For one character.
Razor Ramon.
Hang on, what other character did The Undertaker do that you like, Dave? Come on, one character.
Well, yeah, all right, 30 years to compare to 30 months. Not even that.
Yeah,
Sherry didn't even take a bump, and he's in.
I was going to say, like, we got a lot of people that don't really deserve it in there already. But you got to think of even Charmel beforehand.
She was a Nitro girl.
Exactly that.
Oh well, that's me. That's my.
Okay, is she the first Hall of Fame Nitro girl? Is Charmel the first Hall of Fame Nitro girl? Oh, hang on. I guess Tori Wilson, was she a Nitro girl? I think she was. Was she?
No idea.
Is she Hall of Fame though?
Tori Wilson? Yeah.
He is.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I missed that one.
I think most people did.
Stacey
At
Keebler.
least they didn't induct Al Wilson. I didn't get enough of that storyline.
Stacey Keebler was rumoured to be going in this year because she's in the new game, isn't she?
So, I mean, like, you could go, what did she do?
Well,
Yeah.
Stacey Keebler.
But that's what I'm
What
saying.
didn't she do, Gav?
Oh,
What
she-
didn't she do?
She didn't induct her legs, okay?
Must be. I
Stacey
think she
Keebler's
should
the
go in
greatest
there.
legs in wrestling history.
She definitely needs to go in there as well. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's those kind of characters that
You
need
can
to-
induct the left leg in one year and the right leg in the other.
Okay, let's just because like we've got like a few minutes before we'll need to completely wrap this thing up. But there are a couple of other things to respond to. Just before we go into any spoilers and stuff, has everyone here seen Dynamite from this week or know the results?
Not all of it, no. I know the main result.
Do you know the main result?
The main event, yeah.
Yeah. So anyone want to react to that? Thunder Rosa getting the Women's World Championship.
Good match.
Was that?
Yeah,
Goddamn
well
fine.
deserved. Well
Yeah.
deserved.
I saw the highlights of the match, and holy fuck, was that great!
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, there was a bit of a thing going around on Twitter from the guy that does quite a popular YouTube wrestling show, and he sort of does his sort of things where he does his takes on the events of Dynamite and everything as they go along. And he did something on the pay-per-view the other week where she was making her entrance to the title match from Revolution, and she just sort of, he reckoned that she had a bit of an air of, I'm losing this match, I don't have quite as much fire in the entrance and all that sort of stuff. And I think Rick may have referred to in the promo afterwards and everything. But it's quite glad to see that obviously that was a decision that was made there in order to have this hometown moment. And it's quite nice to see that there is a wrestling company out there that don't try to humiliate their wrestlers in their hometown, and rather than actually try to
I
celebrate.
always hate when they do that in WWE.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, with that, there was a little bit of a beef going on between them because of that.
Allegedly,
Because I saw what Britt, what she actually posted, and then the husband got involved, like Thunder Rosa's husband, and
Okay, so I've got my conspiracy theories. So, like, doesn't that actually add more to this, to like this match? If you think, oh, there's some real heat between them here and stuff like this, like, could they? Is that not the story as well? Like, because then we're all like, oh yeah, there was some real fire. Now they're gonna have this. Oh, Thunder Rosa's got to win it here and stuff like that. It fires people up to watch it, doesn't it?
yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that Britt Baker's probably saw that, like those comments and things like that going around about her entrance, and used that in her interview, the bit where she was like, she said about, oh, nice to see a bit of fire in your entrance. Makes a difference when you going in there with someone you've got a chance of winning against, and all that sort of stuff. That line, and I've no doubt that a lot of, particularly in AEW, they do pay attention to what the online audience are commenting on, and they actually try and adapt to it rather than the WWE way, which is to say, oh, you don't like this? Well, I'm going to give you more of that then.
Yeah. Guys, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but like I'll quickly try to find it to tell you about here. Something that you can give me again your opinion on this, because I don't know if I'm like so in favour of it. But here we see, here's like look, so there's Thunder Rosa winning. She's got like the face paint, there may even be blood and stuff like this. And then here is her with the world title before the match happened. Now come on. Look.
Ooh.
It's like she's wearing the exact same. Again, I need to find a better way to show this without it being me. It's because it can
Could
see
she
my
not
face.
just like tidied herself up and like
No. It's like yeah. Again, like I wish I could zoom in so you could see it properly. But she's wearing the exact same thing, face paint, no blood, because she's like wearing like a light color, and then it's just like. When you see her like in the match, it's just like you had the title before the match, and you shouldn't share that.
I was
I
going
hate
to
to say
say,
this, but I hate to say this, but you would just flash that last image up just for a moment there. I thought it was Danhausen.
I was going to say
Yes.
though, they done it with Lex Luger though, didn't they? They
Well-
had him come out with the title.
Yeah, well, okay, I forget what the idea. I've seen this clip. Why did he have the belt and he actually made an entrance?
They wanted to see what their fans' reaction was to him, to see whether they're going to put it on him or not.
Oh, probably
Well, like,
confusion. They were probably like, he didn't win this.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they may have made out that he'd won it at a house show or something. I
Yeah.
think sometimes they do that, don't they?
Yeah.
Also, can we please, suspend our disbelief here, and we can just go with the fact that all the blood was cleaned up. She applied the face paint all over again, and then click the photograph. For fuck's sake.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
No, that's bullshit, Assad. No, look, you need to do this. Is like when you watch a movie and there's a continuity error. When you're watching Gladiator and like a plane flies in the background, you can do better than that, right? You can take a photo with the title after the match.
Wow.
This is the problem with wrestling fans these days. You'll think too much into it.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hang on.
Or it would be real to me if they didn't like pose with a championship before the title's been changed.
People didn't.
Or change
People
their
didn't
name
think too
halfway
much
through their
about
gimmick
wrestling.
and
My
a
page
stupid
was out
name.
of business.
What was that, David?
I said if people didn't put too much thought into wrestling, pages like what I have would be out of business.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, like, what we're doing here, if it wasn't for like the super fans that just like want to scrutinize everything, you know.
Yeah.
Gosh, guys, we'll begin to wrap things up here. One other story that I saw that I do want to share, which I think is quite amusing. Obviously, a few weeks ago, it was reported that MLW were like bringing a lawsuit against the WWE. And if you guys haven't seen this, it's quite funny. To try to dismiss the case, WWE have presented their evidence where MLW had said that, WWE are doing this unfair tactics and they're creating a monopoly. And so to prove that they're not creating a monopoly, WWE's evidence is when they were losing in ratings to AEW to prove that obviously it's not a monopoly. And this has come to light. Yeah, absolutely. WWE are like using that AEW have beaten them head to head in ratings to say, well, look, it's not a monopoly. This is unfounded.
Triple H come back, all is forgiven.
Yeah. Just absolutely crazy stuff. Like, crazy stuff.
That's hilarious.
And it's so weird because the rumour, like, obviously, when there was all the Forbidden Door stuff starting, was that WWE were going to do a deal with MLW. And then, like, the story to then be that, that didn't work out or whatever. And then MLW are suing them.
Maybe a few years ago, we could have had the dream match of Hornswoggle versus Microman.
Oh my god. Okay, guys, if you haven't seen this, Dave shared, like, a video with us. What was this, 2 weeks ago? 1 week
Yeah,
ago?
a couple of weeks ago on MLW TV, it's the opening match, and there's this trios match, and they're building up this mystery debut, and it's Microman, who is literally the smallest wrestler I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He barely makes the bottom rope. That's how small he is. And it's just one of the most fun matches I've ever seen. And it brings me to say, but seeing Microman take a bump is one of the funnier things you'll see. You'll laugh but you'll hate yourself for laughing at it.
Yeah, but you know what? Actually, okay, so I don't know. I couldn't even tell you who this is, but there was a Botchamania a few years ago where there was a little person wrestler. I don't know if that was the correct term, to be honest, so I'll be careful. A little person wrestler, and he looked like he was dressed as a gorilla. Does anyone know this clip? And he sat on the outside, and someone...
Talking about El Torito?
Who was this?
El Torito? When they had the... Oh, no, he was in the bull. Never mind.
No, I've got literally no idea.
CMLL or something.
Yeah, and he sat on the outside, and he's like huffing and puffing, and someone just does like a baseball slide, and he flips upside down, and it's absolutely crazy. That guy looked similar in stature to Microman.
Yeah, so very similar.
But yeah, like I don't know. Do you think WWE going to be poaching Microman anytime soon?
Or they're going to reboot the juniors division.
That was the weirdest division. There wasn't even a championship.
Ridiculous. That's a topic for another day.
Right, guys, we'll begin to, on the note of Microman, we'll begin to wrap things up here. Obviously, there were some ups and downs, some incredible downs over the last week. A couple of ups. Thunder Rosa winning the World Championship was a great match. I think the Hardys debuted. I won't give more spoilers if you guys haven't seen it. I really enjoyed Raw, by the way, if people saw Raw this week. I really enjoyed it. I'm getting into the road to WrestleMania. Dave, did you see Raw? You kind of pulled a scowl on your face there.
No, all I heard of was that Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens were wrestling to see who would interview someone at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I tell you what, I enjoyed their match. Like,
The match was good.
yeah, it was a good match. Good match.
Good. They could have had a good match at WrestleMania or something, don't they? But
Yeah.
The big rumor now is it's Seth versus Cody as the big rumor, isn't it?
Oh, okay. So, do you know what? I'm glad you said that because I'm not going to take credit for this. I think TJ said it, and if TJ stole it from someone else, like the buck will stop with him. But he suggested that. Look, and in my opinion, here, what WWE are doing is the whole CM Punk debut in AEW, where it was all just speculation, but everyone knew. And then, everyone was chanting CM Punk, and then CM Punk came out. And it was a different way of hyping something up. Now, what they're doing is, it's going to be Seth, because literally they were sharing stuff like, his dreams turning to a nightmare, and it's got stars with dust all over it and stuff like this.
His hopes are dashed.
Yeah, exactly. But then, this is what TJ said. They're going to do all this. People are going to be chanting Cody, and then Veer Mahan is going to come out.
He came up with that. He was just like, we were talking, Roy and I, or TJ and I, and he was just like, hey, I have an idea. And boom, there it was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So all credit to TJ on the idea, but I think that's the best idea. And do you know what? I think people will prefer it to Cody coming out.
And the thing is, he's...
And then Veer don't go to Raw next week.
Yeah, he doesn't appear next week still.
What, and then he's future endeavoured?
He just shows up on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we'll say it again, Veer's coming in as the next Funkasaurus.
Yeah. So...
It's been so long doing Brodus' debut that years ago. He came out
I actually like that. I hate to admit it. I like the Funkasaurus. I hate to admit it, but it entertained me.
Yeah, but it almost feels like,
I like the Funkadactyls.
Yeah. But...
one of them's a good wrestler.
Well, I forget the other one's name, but she came back in the Royal Rumble, didn't she?
Cameron. That's sad. You've got to say that, and you got to say that on the air, mate. That's too good to put it in the chat.
What was this? I can't even read that. So if anyone wants to read,
that's just put in our chat bit via Mahunkasaurus.
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 Oh wow. Yeah.
Rolls off the tongue.
It does. There we go.
Right.
Let's up with Luchasaurus, Mahunkasaurus, and Luchasaurus.
Yeah. Okay. Let's begin to wrap things up here. I guess let's find out where we can find everyone on social media. Like, in fact, two things. In fact, just like first of all, I need to check to see if there's any breaking wrestling news because we have David. If with this being your first time on the show, we always have the weird habit of like an hour after this show is done, there's like breaking news of like some huge thing. So let's see if there's any breaking news today.
Any breaking news from the Iron Sheik?
Well, I'm going to have some Iron Sheik news in a second. But okay, let's see.
Say something bad about Hogan.
Update on the AEW console video game. I don't think that is urgent news. But let's see.
Anything? I've got Santina Morella on his daughter signing with WWE.
On his daughter? Ugh.
Right. Daughter signing with
WWE. Sorry, my bad. I misheard you.
There's a UK pay-per-view coming up.
A UK pay-per-view? WWE?
Yeah.
Is that?
And it's on the same weekend as the AEW All Out.
Wow.
I haven't read that. Where's
no,
that?
yeah, I don't know anything.
Oh, here we are. Yeah. Right. Hold on.
Okay, give us the scoop.
Well, no, that's scoop. So, WWE decided on their long-awaited premium live event in the UK. I love the fact that we're not doing pay-per-views anymore. They're premium events.
Yeah.
So there was talk in 2021 of possibly holding SummerSlam at the Principality Stadium in Wales years ago. Now they're going to be, they've apparently seemed to have confirmed that a live event will happen on Sunday, September the 4th. And in an update, it now seems to go hold it at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff on Saturday, September the 3rd.
Wow.
It's 30 years since SummerSlam in the United Kingdom. Maybe they're doing that.
I was there.
Wow.
Cool.
That is very cool.
An awesome show to be.
We have a habit of doing that though, because they did the whole thing of there was a couple of years ago when there was an AEW pay-per-view happening, and New Japan also had their first sort of London Dome show in London, and that was the same weekend. Then suddenly NXT UK was also happening. There was a takeover in Wales that particular weekend as well. Suddenly, it was like, oh no, we've had that day for a long time. It definitely had nothing to do with the fact that New Japan were running on the same day.
Yeah. Wow. Also, that was on my girlfriend's birthday, so I didn't get to go. Right, so
Can we have just a suggestion, David, sir? Since it is David King's first appearance on this show, can we have a round of breaking news with the blank thing?
breaking news with the blank thing.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
That
So, what,
round
like
one.
the game where it's just like fill in the blanks.
Yeah, fill in the blanks.
Okay,
yes.
well, look, I'll just say now, like, David, I hope you've had, like, fun on the show. This has been a lot more talky than, like, what we normally do. We normally have, like, a load of, like, silly, like, quiz and game show games and stuff like this. What Assad is referring to is we do a game called Headlines, where I will choose some random wrestling news headlines and blank out, like, one or part of, like, the headline, one of the words or part of the phrase, and then people just have to fill in the blanks with what they think it is. Dave?
I've got one here for you, David, if you want to do it.
Yeah, go on then. Give us one.
This is quite a good one. Okay, so David King, this is for you. Okay, so I've got blank out a word. Seth Rollins blanks a leprechaun on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
I would say
Seth Rollins blanks a leprechaun on The Tonight Show.
Be my guess, curb stomp. He curb stomps a leprechaun.
It is stomps a leprechaun on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
I just think it's so, like, cruel to call Becky a leprechaun. Like, they've been going out a long time now.
Look at the picture. I did generally think it was going to be Seth and Becky for a moment.
I got my lucky charm. Now I can have a WrestleMania match.
Okay, so I'll give you one or two, but, like, normally I try to get some of these headlines in advance. So try to fill in the blank. So either a funny guess or, like, an actual guess. But we're going to have to wrap things up just because I've got another show very shortly. But Happy Corbin recalls Vince McMahon blanking him from behind.
I didn't Reiking him.
Hiding Reiking him. Yeah. Bonus point
Golden
there.
shovel from behind.
Oh, dear.
What's the thing?
Any guesses?
How about, slapping his ass.
Quite possibly is literally just hitting him from behind as a joke. Let's. Okay, let's see. Blah blah
Feel
blah.
happy now, pal.
Okay, Logan Paul comments on his blank possibly coming to WWE.
Hope they put a censor up.
His audience?
No.
Yeah, there'll be like 3 people. No, I'm kidding. I know he's got more than that.
His drink?
Brother?
It is his brother. It is his brother. I'll give you one more just because I haven't had enough time to go through these to find some good. But The Undertaker is nervous Vince McMahon will blank him during his Hall of Fame induction. All of these just sound utterly filthy.
I was like, just bring him back for another.
Just hide and rake him.
Like mentally torture him like he did throughout the entire documentary, The Last Ride.
Yeah. Okay, so on that note, guys, we will begin to wrap things up here. But before we do, I have a breaking news update from the news desk of the Iron Sheik.
Yes.
Which is, don't be a dumb son of a bitch. # Thursday motivation. So that was the update from the Iron Sheik, and we appreciate that as always. So with this, we're going to find out where we can find everyone on social media. And let's see. Dave Green, where can the people find you?
You can find me on davidanthonygreen.com, @Greeno on Twitter, and just don't forget to get your toothpicks out and wear them like this, because it's really cool.
Absolutely. David King, where can the people find you?
I run a page called Pro Wrestling World. We have viewpoints of many different kinds: AEW, pro AEW, anti AEW, pro WWE, anti WWE. We talk about wrestling, all sorts of modern wrestling, and for the classic fans, we have Wrestling's Glory Days, where we talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, the Territories, WCW, all that good stuff.
Awesome. Okay. Gav, where can the people find you?
First of all, one of my friends lost her dad on the same night Scott Hall died, just a couple hours beforehand. So I just want to say, sorry, rest in peace, Mr. Brewster. And you can find me here, same time, same place next week.
Awesome. Okay, Assad, where can the people find you?
Keith Lee says Tony Khan blanked him 3 days after WWE release.
Heidenreichs him?
Yeah, that's
Have
the
you,
correct
have, you,
answer.
have you just not changed it there? Is it blanked in?
Yeah, I should imagine. What was it,
You can
Assad?
find me on.
Called him.
I'm not revealing the real headline.
What's the point then? Right, anyway, Assad, where can the people find you?
It was just reached out to him. It reached out to him 3 days after his WWE release.
Oh, right.
Okay, right. And so...
That's our Khan, everybody.
Yeah. So with that, my name is David Postansky. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at David Postansky. We have a group which is on Facebook, which is Slam Jam Wrestling Show. You've also got Slam Jam Wrestling on Twitter and on TikTok. So do check us out wherever. But for now, Chico, say goodbye from us.